If you're a supplier to commercial aviation right now, this is a good market, and good markets of growing, stable, predictable demand is exactly what the M&A market loves. We are seeing the job shop being an attractive property to sell in this market. And I would say that's becoming a seller's market. I thought I'd never see this. I need capacity. I'm willing to pay a premium. You've got 160 talented people doing this kind of work. I don't care if you don't have a lot of IP. Just the people, if you ever plan on selling in the future, you have to have impeccable financials at least 5 years before you go to market.
Welcome back to the Aerospace Executive Podcast and my quarterly check-in with my good friend, investment banker, Bill Alderman. We got some great topics to talk about, and Bill is always the man. I love these conversations with him. So, Bill, thank you again for coming on.
Thanks, Greg. I always look forward to these. It's always great to talk to you and see you. And we did not see each other in Paris, and so I'm not sure what the next show is going to be. We're going down to Space Missile in Huntsville. I'm not sure you're going to be there, but I'm looking forward to seeing you in person because I haven't seen you in person in too long, Craig.
I should go to Space Missile. I just did a podcast with Tori Bruno.
Come on down. It's in Huntsville.
I got to do that. So
all right. You come down, I'll buy you a cup of coffee.
And then NBAA is coming up in Vegas too. So
it's too far. That's October. Come see me in August.
All right, we'll do that.
I like that very much.
So, hey, what's happening in the world? Lots going on in commercial aviation. It's good stuff. It's crazy out there right
now. Yeah, it is. And you and I talked briefly before we got on the air here about what we want to talk about today. And I really want to talk about non-tariffs. Tariffs are on everybody's mind, and someday they could matter. Right now, they don't. And I'd love to talk about sort of what we're seeing with tariffs, what it means, and what we're seeing in the market, because tariffs are all over the news, all over conversations. And at the moment, it's a nothing burger, Craig.
It has been, stock market all-time high today. 4 months ago, everybody was saying the shelves are going to be empty. The shelves are going to be empty. And I haven't seen that yet. Yeah, I'm always waiting for the next shoe to drop. And candidly, look, I look at tariffs. I'm like, hey, look, I will say this. Scott Bessent is a smart guy. Mm-hmm. And I listened to him. He's a smart guy. And I'm like, what are they seeing in trade that I'm not? So you tell me what's going on in trade. I think tariffs in aviation is very difficult.
Yes. It's very difficult, and even when there were tariffs, there were WTO agreements and side agreements and letters of agreement where it always stayed outside of almost anything there was in the past 50 years plus. So it's always been a unique market in A&D as related to tariffs. But it's not to say that we're not hearing anecdotal stories about tariffs. We are. But when we're doing due diligence, we keep asking our clients, can we see some invoices with some tariff impact? Whether it's an invoice you sent to a customer or whether it's an invoice you received from a supplier. Show us line items of tariff activity. And we're not seeing it. Now, it doesn't mean it might not show up at some point, right? And there's a lag effect and all the rest of it. But in our due diligence, doing deals, we just announced another thing with our friend Scott Ashton a little while ago. Week or two ago, and we've got another deal hitting the market tomorrow. And while we're active in diligence in A&D in the middle market, we're not seeing any of this stuff yet. Okay, and I'd like to jump right from there into airline profits, because you would think that even if there weren't yet tariffs, right? If the economy was cooling, if there was a lot of inflation, of all the things that tariffs, per the textbooks, could and should cause, right? And we've all read the textbooks. You don't need a highfalutin big finance degree to have taken basic economics and know the theory is that tariffs can cause inflation, right? And slow an economy. That's not rocket science. You would think that it would show up in consumer demand. I'm worried about tariffs. I can lose my job. I'm not going to go on that big vacation, whatever. Well, why did Delta just report massive earnings, right? Now, the word was that, and the CEOs of all the airlines were saying we could be seeing cooling because of tariffs, right? It's all over the news. Quote, and I'm reading press release. On July 10th, Delta Airlines published its Q2, okay? Airline non-adjusted operating income, $16.6 billion in line with the previous quarter, okay? Operating profit, $2.1 billion for the quarter, okay? So, yep, there could be cooling. It's just not happening yet, right? So the airlines are doing fine. I think they were concerned Q1. I think they're not concerned at the moment. Okay. Delta had a very nice quarter.
Yep.
All right. So good.
And here's what makes this particularly. I keep talking about Spirit Airlines. Massive renovation of its business plan.
Correct.
And my answer is it's very hard. Like the people at Spirit are incredibly professional. Our pilots are safe. Their airline is very safe.
Yep.
And I always say it's very hard to be a low-cost carrier
Yep.
in a non-low-cost environment. Right. Engine leases through the roof. Asset through the roof. Parts through the roof. Yep. Engine MRO through the roof. The fact that Delta is able to have this kind of earnings in an environment where costs are, at all-time highs, it's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, but the issue is costs are not out of line versus revenue. Things are in line. And the most important thing to our industry, Craig, the commercial side, right? In today's conversation, we want to talk about just the commercial side of A&D. The number one thing in commercial is and you could argue FedEx and UPS are in that marketplace, do packages and or people want to fly, right? That's it. And so if packages and people don't want to fly, the whole thing cools off and everybody in the supply chain suffers, right? I mean, black and white, the pandemic, people didn't want to fly. We're all, thank God for PPP or the industry would have disappeared. Okay. But Delta had a great quarter. So let's now talk about the OEMs. The most important thing is, are the airlines profitable? Because even if they have an 8-year backlog, okay, if they turn really unprofitable, they're going to push the backlog, right? You and I have seen how many cycles in our life? 3, 4. So Delta starts to really suffer. They're not going to cancel anything. They're going to just push deliveries out by 4 years, which slows down the production rate. And then they have whitetails, and you and I have seen the buildings where Airbus and Boeing have hidden airplanes, right?
Yep.
I mean, they hide them from the satellites so the other guys can't see all my whitetails, right? Boeing is up to, what is the number, 38, 37 that the FAA was allowing? I think it was 38, right, Craig?
I think it's about 38. And then I think they're trying for another increase, right?
Correct, but they need FAA approval. I think 38 is the 737 line production max, and that to go beyond that, they need FAA approval. They're doing great. Quality appears to be coming up. The relationship with the FAA is getting better. But the 737 is at max production pursuant to regulatory constraints, right? Okay. Boeing in the first half of 2025 delivered 280 aircraft, 280, right? Compared to 175 in the same period last year. Now, a lot of that was regulatory and all the rest, but Boeing's not yet at full rate production. It's got 7, 8 years of full rate production in backlog. And so if you're a supplier to Boeing or Airbus, Boeing and Airbus are ramping up production rates, which is great, slowly. Okay. They've got like an 8-year backlog. I don't see any risk of that backlog getting pushed out. The airlines are doing great. No reason to push out backlog. They need the airplanes, want the airplanes, got demand for the airplanes. If you're a supplier to commercial aviation right now, this is a good market, and good markets of growing, stable, predictable demand is exactly what the M&A market loves. They like stability, predictability, a little bit of growth, not crazy growth, because then people's price expectations go nuts. Buyers get out of line with sellers. But we are in a Goldilocks market for M&A in the commercial aviation supply chain.
I would say we are, and what I'm hearing now, you tell me. You're the you're the sell side investment banker.
I am.
I'm hearing a lot of people saying deals are getting hard to come by, or hey, look, we're looking, depending on what kind of EBITDA private equity is willing to play with. But I'm starting to hear that deals are getting challenging. We're scarce.
What do you mean by that? Hard to get by, challenging? Give me more
hard to
color.
find the right. Hard to find the right. And they're not. There's a little bit of let's see. Sellers are understanding the values of their business.
Is it becoming a seller's market? Is that maybe what you're saying?
I think it becomes a seller's market out there.
Yeah. So I would say it depends on the niche. Okay. I'm not sure it's a seller's market across the board. I think it's a healthy market. We're still seeing buyers out there with some pretty powerful leverage. Okay.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say it's leaning heavily in seller favor. The only place where I would say that's an exception, and I never thought I would have said this in my entire career, job shops. Correct. Job shops are a seller's market. Now, think about this. You and I have lived, and you're a better pilot than me, but the value chain in aviation, even if it's commoditized parts, the value chain is intellectual property, right? Mm-hmm. And being on either the original drawings or the STCs or PMA, but the IP, right? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter whether it's navigation, avionics, landing gear, it doesn't matter where it's on the airplane, right? If you own the IP, you get good margin and you're a very valuable company. The TransDigm model, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For years, since I started doing this job, if you were a job shop bending metal with no IP, you can't sell you. You can't give your company away sometimes, right? It's going to China, it's going to Mexico. There was no buyer to be found.
Yep. Now it's all coming back.
Those same companies that were trading for a 3 or 4 multiple, if you could find a buyer, double those multiples, double. And then you can start to have a conversation if you double. And there's a lot of federal administrative policy behind that. There's no doubt, right? And you know me, I don't do politics. I got clients on the way far right, and I got clients on the way far left, and I don't want to insult any of our good clients, right?
Right.
But the administration's policy towards manufacturing and our friend Alex Krutz over in the Commerce, it's working, and the capital markets are paying attention. And so we are seeing the job shop being an attractive property to sell in this market. And I would say that's becoming a seller's market. And if you told me I'll give you a $500 million, Bill, if you can make that bet 20, 30 years ago, I wouldn't have made $1 because I would have said it'll never happen.
Component MRO is getting a lot of interest right now.
Yep.
Landing gear. I'm hearing a lot about landing gear.
MRO is healthy, Craig, and has been. I think we mentioned this on a podcast or two ago. MRO is in a very good spot. I would argue that MRO is plateaued. Okay. Not that it's not a great market, but it went from being a soft market, obviously during the pandemic, to being a very good market. But the run from pandemic to good market is over. That quarter over quarter expansion of value is stabilized. I'm not saying it's going down by any means, but I'm saying the second derivative, the rate of growth has gone to zero. The growth on the rate of growth has gone to zero.
Yep, I agree with you. But I think there's some other things that are also, you talk about job shops, you talk about, M&A, a little bit of M&A or the market. Look, commercial aviation right now is healthy. The airlines are healthy. Delta's healthy, United's healthy, Southwest, in general healthy. They got a pain in the butt with their activist investor, but they'll ride through it. Alaska's healthy in general. Okay, JetBlue and Spirit are probably going to have to, they've got challenged business models. They're going to have to work. They're going to have to work to find out. But take that aside, aerospace in general. You've got Russia and Ukraine.
Yep.
You've got China. You've got a new paradigm where, what worked, the big legacy, long tail, expensive defense programs are probably going to be substituted for something uniquely different, fast, cheap, faster production, cheap. That's going to change the landscape. How does that affect a guy selling his in an aerospace company working with Northrop Grumman and RTX and
So that's a very interesting question, and outside of our commercial aviation discussion, but I'll try it anyways, Greg.
Let's do it. All right.
I'll try it. And we're in that market right now. Obviously, our book is balanced, and we are late stage selling a company in the defense sector right now. And that company's Defense Electronics, which is a different animal. Even if you were Defense Electronics legacy in the past, many of those systems, technologies, capabilities roll forward into the new world, right? So that's that, and that company's doing extremely well. And so that's sort of the Defense Electronics is a unique animal. If you're bending metal on aircraft carriers, and you're part of this ecosystem of shipbuilding, Electric Boat in Groton, just down the road from me here in Connecticut, right? They're going to be building subs, right? And there's money for subs. We've got $1 trillion defense budget, and we're building new nuclear subs. Are we going to build a lot more subs than is currently forecasted? No, we're at peak rate right now. We don't need that many more nuclear subs in the pipeline. So if you're a metal bender for Electric Boat, you're doing fine. There's a lot of demand, but is there a new program tomorrow to go get on? No, right?
Listen,
you're a drone maker and you invent some new kind of fangled drone. You can get an order for 60,000 of them tomorrow, right? Because they're only going to cost $800 a piece or whatever, and the Defense Department's going to throw a lot of money at a lot of things like that. And Anduril, it has raised a lot of money. It's all private capital. Round F just came through at $2 billion.
Yep.
Right. So the answer to your question is that if you are in the new world of defense, there's a lot of capital and it's going to move pretty quick. If you're old line defense, it's still a great market. It's $1 trillion defense budget. And we're not going to stop making subs. And we're not going to stop making manned aircraft tomorrow. It's not the growth engine. But would I love to be the family owner of a $80 million company that's making stuff on the subs for Electric Boat? Damn right, I'd like to own that company.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you. So let's take it back to commercial aviation. So that's where we started. I'm kind of looking down the road. I'm from my little catbird seat. This is going to go for a while. You've got a lot of legacy 737s, your 700s, 800s that need supported. You've got a trash load of A320s out there with the old engines with the CFM and V engines on there that are going to need supporting for a long time. Airbus is not kicking, Airbus's production just from supply chain was, restricted a little bit too. Plus you got the GTF engine, which
still has issues.
And so I'm looking at this commercial aviation thing. I'm going, hey, this is going to ride for a while. Assets are expensive.
Yes.
So the fact that a CFM engine is midlife CFM is outrageously expensive right now, but people seem to be dealing with it.
Look, if you got sold out airplanes with paying passengers at Delta Airlines, right, you're going to have high demand and high prices for everything in your supply chain. It's supply and demand, right? And the textbook's usually right? Supply and demand. If there's a shortage, prices go up.
Did you see the Navy just bought a 737 for E6 training, for E6 to train their E6
Yeah.
tactical pilots?
Didn't see it.
And I heard the value on the motors for that airplane, and I almost fell out of my chair.
Yeah.
Like $7.5 million each.
Because
And they're like,
there's nothing in the market.
Nothing in the market. They'd be like this. Yeah, 3 years
During
ago.
the pandemic, when everybody wanted to buy a Cirrus, I got a phone call saying I'll pay 30% more than you bought your airplane for 6 years ago, right? Supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
I mean, pandemic's over. Not everybody wants to fly themselves around, and values are back where they belong. It's supply and demand. But I'll make this comment, and I had a conversation with a client just before the pandemic. Not that I'm that smart, because I'm not. But just before the pandemic, and they had an offer for $100 million for their business, give or take. And the guy was not quite ready for retirement. And I said, and it was sort of an unsolicited offer, called me up. And I'm like, it's simple. Are you ready to retire? Because $100 million, whether it's 80 million or 108 or 91, you can't spend it all. This is your grandkids' money we're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. And so he goes, yeah, I'm just not ready. I'm not ready to sell. I'm like, fine. I said, the only thing I want to tell you is it's $100 million and we could have another SARS outbreak. Okay?
Right.
He said, if we have another SARS outbreak, it'll be same as last time. I'll call my bank. I'll make sure they're comfortable. I'll keep close to them. I'll keep paying all my bills. I'll scale down a little bit. And when the thing is over, we'll make more money. I'm like, you're good. Okay? And that was like 4 months before frickin' COVID, right?
Yeah.
Right. And the company survived and everything is cool. So my comment is to your comment about this thing looks great. It's not the known unknowns that get you.
Yeah.
Right? So we could have an oil shock. We could have tariffs. Right? All of the known unknowns could hit the market, but we know about the unknowns, right? The ones that always get you are the unknown unknowns. Right.
Yep.
And I thought we could have a SARS outbreak where some people somewhere would stop flying. But did I think the world was going to go live in a cave for 3 years? I didn't see that coming. So my comment to Craig is, I think the market looks phenomenal for a very long period of time.
Yep.
Caveat, right? I am not the omnipotent one. And the weirdest thing in the world could happen tomorrow and I could look like an idiot.
Well, that's why my investments are 30% hedged, right? I mean, I'm not all stocks. I'm 30% hedged. And there's a reason for that. But it comes down to like tariffs. Yeah. A couple months ago, the markets took some pretty big hits and the world was falling. And some pretty smart analysts that I follow on LinkedIn were saying the sky is going to fall.
Yeah.
And it didn't. But relative to our industry, I look at a Bombardier Global Express.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, you want a tariff? Yeah, you want to get in a pissing contest with Canada? I'm not getting political here, but I'm going, that Global Express has got GE engines on it. It's got, Rockwell Collins avionics or Honeywell
and not
avionics.
only that, Craig, this stuff crosses the border back and forth for processing.
30 times. I mean, it's 30 times. I'm like, how do you put a tariff on? How do you put a tariff on a Bombardier
Every time it
aircraft,
crosses the border?
which is 50 or 60% U.S. content? You don't. Or an Airbus A220 or A320, same thing. Right. Or, what are you going to do? Tariff Boeing, who's got a lot of RoDev tech? Equipment there. Come on.
You could.
Well, we could do a lot of things, but you tell me how it all works out.
I'm not in charge.
Yeah, I'm not either, but that's kind of the way I look at it. I just sit back and I go, all right, there's an end game somebody's trying to get to. I don't understand the end game. They can talk about it all they want. I just keep my head down and keep pushing forward. And I think that's the smart, candidly, when I listen to Jamie Dimon over in Europe, I think maybe that's a smart idea. Just keep your head down, focus on your business today.
Yep.
And eventually it'll probably just all work out. That's a little bit of where I think.
Yep.
So
agreed.
What are people looking for in deals right now? What's the M&A? What's holding up deals? What's pushing them through?
So we'll stick on the commercial side because that was the theme you wanted for today. On the commercial side, what is driving deals forward is content. And it's not pure IP anymore now, but it's capacity, for example. We are seeing deals going into the market that are being found very attractive with not a lot of IP because they solve someone's need for capacity, not just facilities. That's less of it. It's trained people that is so important. So it's filling a need. It's that private equity firm that's building a company through platform and acquisition, and they just can't find more human talent. Years ago, it was all about IP. One more, we need this IP and that IP. And that is a big piece of what we're seeing. Strategic and private equity, commercial aviation, we want this IP added to our offering. Okay? And we're seeing that, and it's working well. We're also seeing literally, which, as I said, I thought I'd never see this. I need capacity. I'm willing to pay a premium. You've got 160 talented people doing this kind of work. I don't care if you don't have a lot of IP. Just the people. I can't meet demand from my customer. I got a call from Collins, and they said, I need this, right? And we're like, sorry, I can't bid on that. I don't have the capacity. And Collins says, well, I'll make it worth your while. And it's you can do whatever you want. I can't produce. That's where we are in the market. So those are things that are helping deals get done. What's hurting deals right now? In our world, this is the old classic one, Craig. Lack of good accounting inside the company. That's the one thing we're seeing time and time again that's hurting our deals. And I'm sure you know this, but you're the executive search guy. You live this, right? And so you're running a small company. You got 9 jobs. You wear 8 hats, right? Yep. And you got limited money, limited people, and you're like, well, do I hire a controller or do I hire somebody to handle the RTX relationship? Well, I got to handle RTX better. Well, my comment is, you don't have any banks, you got no debt, your shareholders are happy, your financial reporting, who cares, right? Who cares? Well, in 5 years, when you go to sell your company and your statements from 5 years ago are a disaster, they're not GAAP, they're not nothing, you're going to wish you'd done something. And my closing thought here is you can't fix it, right? If the building is dirty and needs to be painted, you paint it and clean it up. If your books and records from 4 years ago are garbage, you can't go back and fix them. They're garbage, and they're locked in time. And so I know you know this, but the one thing I would say to even the smallest of companies is if you ever plan on selling in the future, you have to have impeccable financials at least 5 years before you go to market. And we keep seeing that over and over again.
I've come to figure out that the most important person in the company, even more so than the CEO, is probably the CFO. Good CFOs are worth their weight in gold.
Yep.
They're the most in-demand search that I'm getting right now. It's like
and to me, a good CFO, sure, great accounting skills, but they're a partner to the CEO. Yep. When he or she says, what do you think of this? It shouldn't be, well, I added up the numbers and the beans total this. It should be forward thinking, forward looking. Let me be your partner and help you decide whether A or B is more valuable to us. Mm-hmm. And I'll add this one, Craig. When you're a $200 million company, you have a CFO. Mm-hmm. When you're a $40 million company, you have sort of a bookkeeper, right? Mm-hmm. And that's good enough. And my comment is that you're a $40 million company. You maybe not need a CFO, but you need a controller that is also in your office all the time as your partner, doing your financial analysis, not keeping the books from last month, but helping you decide where to invest your time and money.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's interesting. Going back about 6 years, placed a CFO at a company. He took he walked in, and it was quite amazing. He had great banking relationships, and just his forward thinking, restructured all the debt, reduced finance costs by like 30%, and put a trash load of cash back into the owner's pockets. And he's like, hey, it was simple. I mean, it was just the way, the power of good CFOs out there right now. And I think that a lot of small businesses, they just they look for the bookkeeper. And if they pay $100,000 more, which for most of them would be not a big deal, the trade-off would be exponentially good. They just have to trust their judgment to do it.
Like tenfold.
Like tenfold. Yeah. Like, what's the value this person brings me? Well, go talk to any business that's grown from 40 million to 100 to 200 to $1 billion, and they'll tell you, hey, it was all in the numbers.
And you know, you don't need to be borrowing money, right? A lot of people think, oh, well, until I borrow $30 million from a bank, I don't need a CFO, right? You could never, if you're a great company, you'll never borrow money, right? You might be so darn profitable, you don't need to borrow a dollar. Right. But the real issue is, okay, I could put all my time and efforts into this or all my time and effort into that. Someone tell me the financial impact of those decisions, the investment of dollars and time and money, the IRR, the payback ratio, whatever you want to use, right? Mm-hmm. Unless you have someone on your staff where you say, hey, look at this project, tell me if I should do it. Look at this project. You don't know where to throw your time and money. And that is so valuable because I read a great book out of McKinsey, I guess it was a while ago, about 7 traits of great leaders or whatever. It's not the decisions they made that made them great. It was what they made decisions to make decisions on made them great.
I love it. And then, thinking back to, going back to your comments on capacity. The people I'm talking to out there right now at the OEMs and the major customers, they would sell their mothers before they lost a qualified supplier. It's just, they lose a qualified supplier for a small something or another, a widget. Yep. Like it's impossible to find another one right now.
Yeah. In this market, absolutely, my friend, absolutely.
So we'll have to see what Alex is doing. Our friend Alex Kretz is doing to change that.
I have a lot of respect for our friend Alex.
Alex is a good man. He's done a great job, and
good for the country.
So all good. So you're pretty bullish on the next couple months, next couple years.
All the way out, even more than a couple of years. Give me protection on the unknown, and I'm very bullish.
Bill, another great podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Always a pleasure, Craig. Till next time.
Yes, sir.